Live.
What's going on, everyone? I'm Chris Baker.
And I'm Ty Backer.
Welcome to episode 101 of Behind the Tool Belt with TC Backer Construction.
Whoa.
That has a ring to it, doesn't it?
It does. 101. DC 101.
TC Backer, TC Backer. Roofing, siding, windows, gutter, solar. Roofing, siding, windows, gutter, solar. TC Backer, TC Backer. TC Backer, TC Backer. TC Backer.
It was quick. It was actually kind of quick.
Okay.
What's going on, everyone? How's everyone doing? We are over the hump of 100 episodes
Yeah,
here.
wow. Crazy.
Hopefully everyone got to tune in for our 100th episode with Wayne Scott last week at the 21 Turkey Salute. We have a very, very special guest today. This is another gentleman that we met while we were down at RoofCon. He's a trailblazer in the roofing industry, in a lot of different industries, actually. This is Eric from D&M Roofing and Siding. Eric, do you maybe want to introduce yourself real quick to the guests? Let everyone know who you are.
You want me to go ahead and say my last name?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
You want to
I didn't even want to go ahead and botch that, dude. You picked up on that?
Yeah.
Oberembt.
Nobody does.
Yeah. I'm
Last
glad you
name
said
is-
that.
Last name is Oberembt.
Awesome.
So if you
Thank
read it, it is just the way that it sounds out.
Okay.
Oberembt.
Oberembt. Got it.
Yeah. So Eric Oberembt. I am the owner of D&M Roofing and Siding in Omaha, and we have an office in Des Moines as well. Been doing that since I was a little kid. My grandpa started our company back in the '60s, and I started working with him when I was about 10 years old. And we run a commercial and residential roofing company. We do a lot of commercial work. That's what I like to specialize in. I get pretty burnt out on residential stuff, so I kind of have that as a separate division. Then in the last couple of years, I have been given the opportunity to do a lot more things. So I know we were talking a little bit off camera about it, but you got your little logo down there for CRA, for the Commercial Roofing Academy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a teacher at the Commercial Roofing Academy, where basically we bring in companies that are usually, not always, but usually more residential focused, and they just really want to get into the commercial space, but they don't exactly know how to do it. And so they come to a 2-day quick start, and then there's a year-long program that goes along with it, and we teach for a couple of days and then give kind of follow-up support throughout that year to help them learn how to actually run a commercial roofing company so that they don't go broke, because once you start doing commercial, it's very easy to shit the bed and have something bad happen to you. So this past year, I also wrote a couple of books. I wrote How to Choose a Contractor. So that one is for homeowners. It's distributed all over the country. It's on Amazon. But we have a lot of contractors actually kind of in my network of people that I know throughout the country that have actually went and bought it and given it to their reps to hand out at the doors. And so that was the reason that I wrote it, was to give to my reps to go hand out the doors and be like, hey, even if you don't hire us, you should read this book. It's only 50 pages long. You can read it when you're in the toilet. And it'll give you kind of all the checkpoints of what to do when choosing a contractor. It can be a roofing contractor, a plumber, whatever. It applies kind of across the board. So we've had good success with that. And then after getting involved in CRA, I felt like there needed to be a book written for property management companies and business owners on how to choose a commercial contractor, because it's such a different market and such a different niche that I took time. It took me 2.5 weeks to write the first book. It took me 6 months to write the second one because it was so much more in depth, and it's such a more niche-y, thing.
Right.
So I just wrote that. That just got released about 2 months ago or so, and so we're getting that distributed out, and that's pretty exciting. So I'm just a dumb roofer. I'm a dumb roofer from Omaha, and I wrote a couple of books. So that's been exciting, and the feedback on that's been great.
I love that. I love the breaking the stigma thing. We were talking about that before the show.
Most definitely.
I'd love the whole breaking the stigma of everything in our industry, and that's one of the things that was so refreshing about RoofCon, at least for me, going down and just seeing the overabundance of people in this industry that wanted to help each other. There aren't really trade secrets anymore. You know what I mean? The secret is it's hard work. You got to put the work in. That's the secret. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for real.
But it's no more of I can't tell you how to succeed because I want it all for myself. You know what I mean? There's so many people down there that we met down there that are willing to help.
Well, 5 years ago, there wasn't anything like this. Like, there wasn't the Facebook groups. There wasn't, yes, there was Win the Storm. That's coming up on its 8th or 9th anniversary of that. Dimitri's thing's 2 or 3 years old. RoofCon's only 2 or 3 years old. So being an entrepreneur, that can be a lonely place. And we talk about this quite often. Like, there was no place that we could go. At least I didn't know of any place, nor would my ego or pride let it go there or ask somebody for help. But now it's like there's everyone's like an open book, and I'm sure people are holding things back, but you take what you need and you leave the rest. But I can tell you the one cool thing that I really thought about the Win the Storm conference is when I was first introduced to you guys.
Win the Storm or RoofCon?
I'm sorry,
RoofCon.
Win the Storm. What did I mix that up?
No, you meant RoofCon, right?
Yeah, no, Win the Storm conference.
Win the Storm.
Yes, was my first convention that I went to, roofing convention. Okay, and that's where I actually first met you. And there was a lot of people there. I kind of shook your hand, you and your friend, Andy Reid, I think, or what's your buddy's? Paul. Yes, sorry, Paul.
Andy Reid coaches the Chiefs, but that's okay.
Close enough. Close enough. But so I met you guys down there, and I know Jana was super excited, and that gave us the bug. You know what I mean? Of okay, so then we went to IRE, then we went to RoofCon, and then, Christ, I don't even know what else we did, but anything that we could get involved with, because it was like, oh my God, we can go someplace, be around a bunch of like-minded people that aren't our competition, and even if they were, it didn't matter. It's like we all put our guard down, everybody was open, like an open book, and just to listen to you guys speak on stage and get that input and that feedback, and then to come back and apply that to whether it be our professional lives or our personal lives was a game changer. And I saw the group of guys and gals that we took with us down to RoofCon in Orlando this past year. Was I could just see the change in Chris. I could see the change in his girlfriend, who doesn't even work for us. Like, personally, it changed her life.
Shout out, Britt.
Yeah. And Jana, my significant other, was there, and she was like, wait, we're still on a high from it. And Vic and Tina and Glenn and his wife.
Yeah.
It was such a great experience that it's definitely something that we want to do more of. Unfortunately, this year, all of them seem to be in like December and February, which is when our home shows start. We kind of go on the road and travel and do these different home shows because we do mostly retail and new construction, predominantly new construction, but retail, because up north here, there's not a lot of storm damage. I mean, there is like wind storms, but we don't get a shit ton of hail like you guys would out in the Midwest. So we rely on, retail, the phone, Google, Facebook ads, things like that, a little bit of canvassing, door knocking, very little door knocking. We're starting to get more into that now because of everything that you guys have been teaching us. To go out and grow a set of balls and knock on somebody's door and say, yo, let me inspect your roof.
Yeah, people around here, the Roof Poppy, he kind of put it into perspective a little bit. Down in the San Antonio and like down in you guys' areas, people are almost waiting for you to come knock on their door. You know what I mean? Up here, we walk into a neighborhood and knock on somebody's door, they're going to be like, I'm not interested in whatever the hell you're trying to sell me right now.
Or you might get shot.
You know what I mean?
But
why are you knocking on my door?
It's also such an untapped market because they're not
Very
used
true.
to it.
Yeah, so
that they're gonna be intrigued, and they're gonna be like, hey, why are you knocking on my door?
Right.
And all of
Right.
a sudden you've got an icebreaker. I mean,
Right.
I would love to send 7 of my guys up there to go fucking knock retail.
Yeah.
Like they'd fucking slay it. Like,
Yeah.
it'd be
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah, because
Right.
it, like you said, it's uncharted territory up here. I mean,
Right.
it really is. Hence why we've been trying over the past 2 or 3 years doing what we've been doing is, and we've opened up another location down in Delaware because there are more storms, especially windstorms in that area, being along the coast at the beach line there, right in the Delmarva. It's called the Delmarva, Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia. There's like 1 or 2 storms always come up through there every season. It's kind of like, instead of being like the storm chaser, we would rather be the catcher. Have boots on the
Right.
ground already there, have an office established. So that's what we've been working on for probably the past
Year and a
12
half.
months.
Yeah, year and a half, probably.
Exactly. Trying to get that up and running.
And that's what we do too. We're storm catchers. We stay within 120 miles of where we're located, unless I have a commercial client that has properties in other states, and obviously we'll travel for that.
You probably opened, your second location was probably a strategic opening. Kind of connecting some dots.
It was 2.5 hours east of Omaha, and I was like, oh, now I can service the entire state.
Yeah.
And it gave me a radius, it quadrupled my radius to do that. So yeah, absolutely, it was definitely strategic.
Yeah.
Right.
That's good stuff.
Yeah, man, it is good stuff. And then, thank God that the industry is changing that the way that it's going, because before it seemed like everybody was really tight-lipped. But now things are starting. There's courses you can take. I mean, Hunter's got his thing, Revolt going on now. Dimitri's got his roofing insight school, and Lee Hate's got his thing down in Florida. And it just seems like more people are willing to give up that information of how they made it and have been able to scale and open up different locations in different areas.
Yeah.
100%. I think the best quote that I ever heard, and you probably heard it, but I heard Gary Vee speaking, and he brought up the same thing, that somebody came up to him and said, why would you be giving your possible competition, everybody in this crowd, all of this information? And he said, because none of you motherfuckers are going to do it. He's like, he said, there might be one of you that does it, and that's amazing. Good for you, and I'm happy for you, right? But I mean, if there's 1,000 people in that audience, there might be 2 people out there that actually write down what somebody says and take it home like you guys did and start implementing it, into your company. Like, people just don't do that. They get on this big high and they're all rah, 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 rah when they're at these conferences, and then they go home and they're like, what did they talk about? Did anybody write anything down? No. All right, well, let's just do shit the way we were always doing it. and nothing ever fucking changes.
Right.
Ever.
Right.
So I think that's the reason that people aren't worried anymore about that. And but they do see, this is why I do it, right? Is because I see that I get an opportunity to build a little bit of value in somebody's life. And I'm not concerned about, like, to give you an example, at Commercial Roofing Academy, almost every single class that I've taught at, I've had an exact direct competitor from my market sitting in the class.
That's awesome.
From Omaha or from Des Moines, that I have sat there and taught them exactly what I do, and we're friends.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And I'm like, good for you. Like, I want you to succeed,
Right.
Because you're not gonna. It's a big pie, right?
Right.
Like, you're not gonna take the whole fucking pie.
No.
It's just not gonna happen.
Right.
And I mean, and if I'm sitting in a board meeting and I'm going up against you, don't think for a second that I'm not gonna tell them that I fucking taught you. So
Right.
I mean, there's just that.
Right.
Yeah, getting the actual contract signed is a very small percentage of the actual,
Right.
The entire ingredient, the entire meal. You know what I mean? You still have to get up go to work, grind, put the work in, all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
You know, having the secrets of how to do it is one thing, but to actually apply it in not only your work life but your personal life and everything, you know, that was one of the biggest things I took away from RoofCon. I barely learned anything that had to do with the roofing industry.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm a service guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I service new construction. That's my normal job day to day.
Right.
I handle the homeowners with warranty issues. And manage some of my in-house guys. Like that's that.
But it's a widget. It's
Yes.
a widget that we happen to sell, and the more widgets we sell, the more opportunities we get to do things like your deal that you did last week.
Right.
You know, or your charity event, right?
Absolutely.
And I tell all my people, I'm like, guys, yeah, we all want to make more money, but you guys also want to do all these really cool things for the community. But guess what? They cost fucking money. So I need you guys to go sell a lot of shit, a lot of widgets, so that we can go do all this really neat stuff for the community. If you
That's a
don't
great
sell
point.
a lot of widgets, then you're not going to get to do all the cool shit.
Right.
Right.
You know, and that I'm glad you brought that up because we talk about that all the time. We thank our guys for doing what they do so we can do what we do. Do you know what I mean? Without them busting their ass every single day, we wouldn't be able to give it back to the community, and that's the way that we see it. We try to give away what has been so freely given to us, and that's what we try to practice on a daily basis. And what's crazy about it is I don't want to get into that yet, but it's just a cool thing. You know what we do and the culture that we have, and it brings everybody together. The first thing that we did was a couple years ago. We put a roof on this facility up in Lancaster, PA, and everybody was there working, and I went live and was like telling everybody on Facebook, yep, we're putting a lifetime roof on this facility for free. We went up, we realized they wanted us to repair it. We realized that there was no repair that could possibly be made. Like there was no Band-Aid big enough. Like there's already been enough Band-Aid put on this thing. So Chris happened to be the one that went up and looked at this thing, and I said, get off the roof, get down there and tell them that we're just going to put a roof on this place for them. And he was like, what, for real? I was like, yeah, go down there and you tell them that we're going to give them a free roof on this building. So he was more than happy to climb his ass down off that roof to go over there and let these people know, because it was it was a Crispus Attics.
Yeah, it's a Crispus Attics. It's basically like a community center for high risk youth, a place for people, not even just youth, but mainly youth to go that has after school activities, keep them inspired and keep them busy so they're off the streets. They have a support system. They have a place that they can go fill out job applications and internet.
Right. Food. It had a food pantry
sign up
there.
for like intramurals and plays and music and anything that you can have to do. They're so culturally diverse and just a really good facility for an urban area. You know what I mean? And it was raining inside the building.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So one of the biggest highs that I ever had in my life, man, was listening to the joy of these people when you tell them that you're about to give them free shit, man. It's pretty cool.
It was cool.
It's amazing.
Right. So we went live when we were there, and I'm explaining to everybody that's viewing us that, hey, what we're doing, and we're doing it for free. Well, at that moment is when everyone on the job site that was working there for us realized that we were putting in time for free and material. So after I got off, Colin was the first one to walk over to me. One of our gutter installers came over and he's like, dude, I don't want to get paid for today. And then, so after that happened, we got back to the shop. Everybody was bummed that they couldn't participate. But then I was like, dude, we need to do more shit like this, but include everybody. Everybody that works for us, because it has changed. It's been a game changer for our culture. I mean, everyone treats everybody at the shop and not at the shop and the customer so differently today, because it had almost like opened up like this empathy portal, where like the way that they looked at other people was just differently. I know it did it for me selfishly. I know that's what it did for me, and I know I've seen Colin change and grow, whether if he knows it or not. I've watched him grow. I've watched Denny come out of his shell. I've watched just
like everyone, man.
Yeah, everybody has just
it changes people.
It does.
It's
it has.
contagious, man. It really is.
Yes, and it's contagious.
So one thing I got to interject with was that I caught something that I was super intentional about this past year with my company. I outlawed the word grind. And everyone has to substitute it with consistency.
I like it.
just for people watching, because I think that grind gets such a negative connotation, even though we all know that it's not, right? I think that grind gets such a negative connotation because grind. When I think of grind, I think of I wake up and go, here we go again.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that sales guys get in that same mindset, and they're like, I gotta grind. And it's like, well, but if you grind, what happens when you grind fucking gears? They wear the fuck out.
Right. Down to a nub.
They burn the fuck out, and I don't want my guys to burn out. And so I did like a whole video and like sent it to my group and all my guys and had a meeting. And I was like, from here on out, you're not allowed to talk about grinding. Everything that you do is consistent, because when you're consistent at something, it will always fucking pay off.
Absolutely.
Always pay off if you're consistent. So I that changed the mindset of like all of my guys. And so just for people, I don't even know who watches your show. Like, I don't know if it's clients or if it's other roofers or whatever it is.
Both.
I feel like whenever I'm talking, I'm always talking to like other roofers that are trying to implement stuff into their companies. So that's what I always come up with.
We get both.
Like that.
So.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep, we got, and a lot of people that are coworkers as well.
Yeah, we
so
got a lot of coworkers.
Whatever nuggets you drop, man, believe me, and hence why we want, good influencing people like you on our show, because you guys have so much great content and knowledge.
Yeah.
It's like I want to ask you questions, and of course I can't think of any of them right now. But today I had 100 of them going through my head, but now my mind is totally blank because I'm in awe. No, I don't want to go that far, but.
No,
Are you blushing yet?
Definitely not. I would definitely not go that far. We'll get into my story. You'll be fucking awesome. You might go, aw.
No, but you are a cool dude, and I'll be honest with you, and I'm not trying to blow sunshine up your ass or anything, but today's probably. I've been more excited about today's episode than I have on any other episode. At least maybe one of the earlier ones, but today's definitely a highlight of one of our shows. To have you on our show because of just so many things. I mean, you've done so much. And when I said earlier that you're a mentor, you're a coach, you're a social media influencer, you are to me. Like, for real, whether if you know it or not, you mentor me.
Yeah, that blows my fucking mind.
Isn't that crazy?
It blows my fucking mind because it doesn't seem like I'm Eric. I'm just like I said in the beginning, I'm a dumb old roofer from Omaha.
Right.
But I appreciate what you're saying.
Right on, man. Right on. And you do impact a lot of people's lives on so many different levels, for sure. So
let's talk about your podcast.
Yeah, man. That's what I want to hear about your podcast.
Let's talk about your podcast.
Yeah.
I love the
Absolutely.
title. I love the title. Be authentic or get the fuck out.
Absolutely. So, all right. So I'll tell you real briefly how it kind of started was I wanted to do something the last couple of years. I've been brainstorming whatever, but you know how it is. Like, you don't ever pull the trigger because you don't think it's quite right or, whatever, right? And it's a fear thing, right? Because you don't want to look like an asshole, either, or nobody fucking watches or listens. And so I was actually on Matt Mulholland's podcast. And did you know Matt?
I've heard of him, but I don't know.
So he's a PA. His podcast is called. I always fuck this up, but it's Listen to This Bull or something like that.
Yes.
Matt's gonna be pissed off because I didn't remember it correctly, and I'm sorry, Matt. But so I was on his show, and after the show was over, we were in the little green room or whatever virtually, and he thanked me, and he said, "Thanks, man." And I'm like, "For what?" I'm like, "I wasn't that good." And he's like, "No," he's like, "Thank you for being the same dude on camera as you are when we go off camera. Like, you don't change at all. You're the same guy." And I was like, "Really?" I'm like, I didn't really think about that everybody might not be that way. And he's like, "No." He's like, 99% of everyone that I have on here is a completely different fucking dude when they're off camera than, when they're on. And I was like, interesting. And I got off of that and I called my buddy Pate and I called Paul and I called my wife and I was like, I think we're onto something here. And that was when I came up with the idea to do a podcast where everybody that came on had to be authentic and we were going to talk about authenticity. And if they weren't authentic, if I thought for a second that they were blowing smoke up my ass and just had an agenda, I was going to turn the fucking thing off. And we weren't going to go any further. And you're just not allowed to be on the show. And so it morphed into a little bit where I kind of started telling my story, started talking about my history, my past, and my recovery. And now everybody that I've had on has been super supportive of that. So it's kind of going down a different tunnel now, where I really want to bring to the forefront talking about recovery and talking about people that have been, you know, kind of in the pits of hell and don't know what to do, or they're trying to get out of it and they don't have anybody to, I don't want to say follow, but like just to look at, to be like, what did you do, you know, type of thing. And so that's really what it's morphed into. I've been honored with some of the guests that I've had on so far. I've had Paul on, I've had Phil Sanov, I had Reggie Brock, that dropped today. And if you haven't watched that one, let me tell you, Reggie is a preacher. I mean, Reggie is amazing. And it was so much fun to have him on. You have to watch that one. And then the one that's getting dropped next week is with Pate Smith. And that's actually a 4-parter. He flew in from Houston and we sat there for 2 hours talking. And so we're breaking it up into 3 or 4 episodes. So
that's crazy.
I appreciate you bringing it up, because it is really, as you know, it's hard to kind of get these rolling and you know, get people watching and,
dude, it's
you know,
so
whatever.
hard. It
is so hard. And, you know, I mean, we spend half our time just being like, watch.
Yes.
But I've gotten just great feedback from it, and it's been so rewarding to get those texts and emails to be like, dude, thank you. Like, I never realized that you had body image issues your whole life. Yeah. Right? Like, I mean, I did 30 minutes on the fact that I was a fat kid.
Oh, wow.
Right.
You know, and everything that I dealt with that until the last couple of years.
Right.
You know, that I lost a bunch of weight and blah, blah, blah. And so it's been really, I think you kind of said it before, like, it's kind of a selfish thing for me because I get so much out of it, right? I mean, it's very similar to my role in Roofers in Recovery, and I'm sure we'll talk about that in a second, but I get so much more out of that than I think anybody does.
Right on.
You know, just because I get to be part of it and help somebody and start building that legacy.
Yeah, man. Good stuff.
Yeah,
and I'm glad you brought up, you know, I'm glad Chris brought up the podcast and the Roofers in Recovery stuff. And I wasn't sure if we were going to talk about that or not, but what I was leading...
We have to talk about it.
Okay,
Roofers
good.
in Recovery is one thing that I am the most passionate about, and I will shout it from the fucking rooftop.
That just gave me goosebumps, man.
Yeah, man.
It really did. My hair on the back of my neck right now standing up, because that is what drawn me to you guys. And Jana, God bless her heart, she's watching on this, and she just thinks the world of you guys. And she's actually the one that had noticed you first, because in our industry, I mean, Roofers in Recovery, like, dude, that it doesn't get any better than that. I mean, that's my life. That's and when we were talking about earlier, and what's crazy is I started to talk about practicing these principles in all my affairs, and whether if half the people that work for us, they're doing that and they have no idea they're doing it.
Correct.
Do you know what I mean? And it's so simple. It's been in front of my face my entire career, and it's like, you know what I mean? With the struggles of entrepreneurship, it's like, you know, things get cloudy and blurry, and it gets too close to your face, and it's like, I don't know what I'm going to do, and who can I talk to? And it's like, dipshit, practice these principles in all of your affairs. It's just that simple.
How many times have you told somebody, are you doing the next right thing? I mean, they're like, what do we do? What do we do here? Like, do we bill for this, or do we do this? And it's like, I don't know. What's the next right thing to do?
Right.
And they're like, oh shit, yeah, you're right.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I get it. Yeah,
exactly. And I'll be honest with you, I've taken it to the extreme. Okay. Like, I can't sit in a sales meeting and tell my guys, hey man, we're going to do a 15% off, you know, discount on any roof over $5,000. But make sure you jack it up 30% first, then knock 15% off. We won't even, like, seriously, like, we just, like, I can't look another sober person in the face and tell them to do that. So it's like, we do not use manipulation marketing anymore, because that's exactly what it is. It's manipulation marketing. I would rather promote our culture and let people know, like, look, your roof helped support somebody else's life. It provided them a meal. So if you want to participate in any of the things that we do, buy a roof from us.
Yeah.
Know that a portion of those proceeds will go to something awesome.
Yeah.
And if you don't believe me, go on my Facebook page and check it out. Go on YDR's newspaper website. Go on Fox 43. Go on WGAL Channel 8 News, because they were there. It's giving me fucking goosebumps right now. like it was so like that. I'm serious.
Man.
And it's not cheap. We didn't ask. Yes, some people donated a couple $100 here and there, but that didn't even break the ice. The fucking sweatshirts cost $6,000 that we handed out to everybody. That's not even counting the food.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or the propane or the oil. I mean, 60 fucking turkeys ain't cheap. Go buy a turkey right now. It's $50 fucking
But
dollars.
you know what? To your point, what other industry gives an opportunity to some broke ass drunks that got an opportunity to rebuild their lives and build what we've built, what you've built, to be able to provide to the community now, because you've been successful, because this industry has given you that opportunity to do it, which is absolutely amazing. I mean, it just absolutely is.
Amen. And that's what I kept saying. I'm grateful. I'm thankful, because I've been able to give it away, what has been so freely given to me. And honestly, this has been given to me, every bit of this. Yes, I woke up every morning, okay, and I, and I came to work. But honestly, this has been given to all of us.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you didn't work for it.
Right.
But
right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
There's definitely people out in this world that work just as hard as I have in my life and haven't had the opportunities that I've had.
Correct.
You know, there is a chance of, there is a thing called luck. People that you bump into, people that you meet. I've gotten opportunities from people that were handed to me by knowing somebody that said, "Hey, this is my friend Chris," or you know what I mean. That kind of stuff. 100%
But was it because
happens.
you were good to that person, and you might have done something
100%
for that person?
100%.
You're
not going to introduce a bum to somebody and be like, "Hey, this guy stole from me."
So to that point though, for people watching though, it isn't necessarily luck, right?
Right.
It's because you did the right shit.
Consistency.
And people recognize that.
Right.
People recognize that, and they went, you know what? This is the kind of guy that I want to introduce to my buddy.
Yeah.
Right? Because I know that he does shit the right way. They don't screw people. They give back to the community. They help.
Yes.
They do all of these things that we're talking about. Mm-hmm. And because of that, they want to work with you.
Right on,
right?
man.
Like that is 100%. I want to support anybody that lives by those principles.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
I want to be part of their world, and I want them part of my world, because we all only have so much bandwidth.
Yeah.
We all only have so much time, so much energy that we can give out to the world, to people, to the people in our lives, to our families, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to be, as far as I'm concerned, we have to be extremely choosy about who we give that energy to.
Yeah, man.
And we have to be intentional about who we give that energy to. And the last 2 to 3 years, I've had to restructure my life to figure out who gets it, right? Who gets that energy? Who drains me of energy?
Right.
We all have those people.
I get it.
Right? We've all got those people that fucking just drain us, and we have to figure out how to get that out so that we can continue doing the good work that you guys are doing.
Yeah, man,
Yeah.
for real. And that's a good point. It's trying to find, and it's funny you say that, because I unfortunately do have people that drain me. And fortunately, we've been put in a position where we can pick and choose those people today. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, there was a person who worked for us not that long ago, and I kind of hired him on the fly. I've gotten better about interviewing people 2 or 3 times. I'll have them come back the third time. First time, usually everyone's nervous. Second time, they start to loosen up. By the third time, if they come back, the third time, you usually get a good read on them. Well, I hired this individual, and it was on the fly. I was getting ready to go out of town for a week, and I figured if they put, a 2-week notice in, Christ, they may not start for 3 or 4 weeks by the time I get back. So I went ahead and I hired him, like, just almost immediately on the spot. Bad call. So, seriously, it was bad call. They were a life suck from everybody. Mm-hmm. Like, they did not fit the culture whatsoever. So I tell you what I did is I gave them a 2-week notice. I didn't just let them go. It was within their 90 days. I gave them a 2-week notice. Like, look, you're just not a good fit. You're just,
Yep.
you know, you're not gelling with everyone else in your department. And, you know, and it was a tough decision because I only want to see people succeed, but it was like I couldn't even go out into the sales office, and I shouldn't be afraid to walk through my own facility.
Your own sales office.
You know, Todd, it's funny that you brought that up though, because one of the things that I remember in I forget what panel it was, but one of the panels that was down at RoofCon was someone was talking about, you know, it's okay to have somebody not fit your culture, and it's okay to let that person go because you're almost doing them a service. You know what I mean? Like
that was our panel.
What was that? Your panel? Was that your panel?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, and you know, it's so true because how long are you going to let this go? You know, because not everyone's going to fit every culture. You know what I mean?
No,
and
there was
there's somewhere out there
stage
for that
about
person. There's someone out there for that person.
Yep, but there was some disagreement on the stage about that too.
Right.
If I remember right. Like there was a couple of people on the other side of the stage that did not agree. They're like, it is your job to blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, to a certain extent. But if they don't fit your culture and they're not believing in what you believe in, you know, like that shit becomes a poison really fast.
It does. And it's not, who's got the time to brainwash them? That costs money and that takes time. And meanwhile, you might lose good coworkers at that point in time. You know, a 6 player can pull your 10 players down to a 7. You know what I mean? And that's the bottom line. And unfortunately, this individual is like a 3. You know what I mean? And you put a 3 mixed in with a couple 6s and 7s and a couple 9s and 10s. Next thing you know, you got 5s across the board.
We don't do 5s around here, man.
Yeah.
100%. You get complacent.
We don't do 5s around here.
Right, like we don't have time for that shit. You know what I mean? We want that upbeat, you know, no boo-hooey shit. You know, leave that shit at the door. I mean, because we want this place to be a joyful place, like your happy place to come to. Now, it's work. Is it always happy, joyous, and giddy? No, it's not, because it's work and it's stressful. But at the end of the day, it's rewarding.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You can be stressed the fuck out at your happy place.
Right.
It is 100% possible, man.
Yep,
you know what I mean?
100%.
It's 100% possible. You know,
do you mind? I know we started to touch on it, but I would be remiss if I didn't ask to go back. I'd like to tell a little bit more about the story of Roofers in Recovery.
Yes,
Do it.
yes,
Yes.
let's absolutely do
Yes.
that. And,
Are you good
we
with that?
actually want to, we want to bring Vic out over here too. I'm actually going to step out and give my seat over here to Vic because he is. I think we've already talked about
Vic,
that.
Vic stalks you, so we want Vic to be a part of this.
Since I'm not a member of this, I'm going to let you guys have this, and I'll pop back on before we break off here. All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So Vic was the youngster I was telling you about behind the scenes. That's the audio guy.
Okay. There he is.
What's happening, buddy?
There's the youngster.
How are you?
How are you, buddy?
I'm great. Good to see you.
Good. Good to see you. Good
Thank
to
you
see
for joining us, man.
Yeah.
What's that?
I said thank you for joining us.
Dude, yeah, love it. Hey, I'm in quarantine.
Yeah.
Fucking this is the highlight of my day,
Hey,
100%.
You should be used to isolation.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm starting to revert back.
Right.
So but no, I really appreciate anytime anybody gives us a platform to be able to have a conversation about Roofers in Recovery, and thank you guys for letting me, you know, kind of bring it to the forefront. So, because I don't know how much of the story you guys actually know, but I'm sure that people listening don't know, you know, much of it at all. But Roofers in Recovery started, and Paul and I tell this story a lot, but Paul Reed called me up one day and he said, hey man, wouldn't it be good, which obviously, by the way, we're both sober, been sober for, I think Paul's 14 or 15 years and I'm like 12 or something like that. And he called me up and said, hey, wouldn't it be cool if like we could put something together and we could send like one person to rehab a year, right? Just all the people that we see at all these conferences that are shit shows, and you know, like there's stories about guys jumping off balconies and almost dying and blah blah blah, right? ODing, you know, at these different conferences, and it's like, wouldn't it be cool if we could send one person to rehab? And I'm like, dude, that'd be fan-fucking-tastic. Let's do it. And he's like, all right, let's just kick in 10 grand a piece, and you know, we'll send somebody to rehab. I'm like, all right, cool. So fast forward 18 months later, 20 months later, we've sent over 20 people
Wow.
to rehab. We get calls almost every day. We've got 2 people in right now. We get calls almost every day of people asking for help. And obviously we can't afford to send everybody to a facility, right? So we have to interview them and talk to them and see how willing they are. And if we can't, send that certain person, we refer them to another source, or we bring them into our community where, we have our meetings on Tuesdays, and we just support each other, right? And we talk and we help and do all the things that you do in recovery, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we started this nonprofit, Roofers in Recovery, and we're a 501c3 for everybody that's, going to ask later. But so when people donate, we have events all throughout the year, all that money goes directly to sending people to treatment. And so today, like I said, we've sent over 20 people to treatment already. It costs us anywhere from $15,000 to $20,000 every time we send one person to treatment.
Wow.
And that's actually a really good deal.
Mm-hmm.
And our goal is to double that next year.
Wow.
So we're really doubling down on fundraising and partnerships with different corporations. And one of the really cool things that we're doing this year that I'm talking about on every podcast that I'm on is next year we're going to do an initiative, and we're going to get every roofing company that we can to sign up and agree to donate one roof to Roofers in Recovery. So you go sell an $8,000, $10,000 roof.
Right on.
And you agree to donate it. And then what we're going to do, though, is we're going to pick a date. We're going to pick one date. So say it's in May or June, and everybody is going to put that roof on that day.
Love it.
And then we're going to contact all the different media outlets to be able to show all over the country, from California to Delaware to Texas to Nebraska, where
Nice.
I'm at, that everyone is putting on these roofs. And so if we can get 50 contractors signed up to put on a $10,000 roof and make that their donation to Roofers in Recovery that year,
Yes.
all of a sudden we just raised $500,000.
Listen,
And-
sign us up.
Love it.
Sign us
and
up.
that wasn't why I told the story. I mean,
Right, no, I know that.
support it, but that we think that's going to be a really, really cool initiative and allow us
Love
to reach so many more people.
I love it.
Anyway, in a nutshell, that's kind of how Roofers in Recovery came about. We've got our Facebook group for people that are in recovery and that want to be in the community. We have a support group meeting as well every Tuesdays for people that want to be introduced to recovery. And then, the other arm of it is the nonprofit. So we have kind of the support side, and then we have the nonprofit side where we have the opportunity to send people to treatment.
That's freaking absolutely amazing. So you guys have been doing this for the past 20 months?
Yeah, it's been coming up. I think it's coming up on 2 years.
Wow. And you've already sent 20 people to rehab?
Yeah,
So-
with the intention of one.
Right. That so basically on average you're sending one person a month to rehab. And is that been from donations, or is that something that you guys are paying for out of your pockets?
So
or a little bit of both?
Yeah, a little bit of both. So we originally staked it. Paul and I originally staked it, and then we had other people that came in that were contributors to it, and then fundraisers. We've got some pretty good people that donate annually. We're setting up a deal where people can donate monthly. So if you just want to give $500 a month or whatever it is, we can set that up as well. But mostly it's been donations.
Okay.
Like I said, we staked it originally, and then it was we were actually talking about it today. We don't take a dollar out of the nonprofit, right? So all of the traveling, all of the all the places that we go. I mean, we spend tens of thousands of dollars of our own money just to be able to do those things, right?
Right.
And obviously, that's costing us. So we're also putting money into it, but we're, putting our time, because every time we're at one of these events, I might not be able to sign a $150,000 job.
Right. Of
Right.
course.
I mean, that's what we do also, right? We've got jobs, we've got lives.
Of course.
And we have to support our families and do our work too.
Right.
But we're very fortunate that we have very good teams behind us back home that support what we do so much, that they allow us to be able to go do this other stuff that helps people so much.
Right on. You got a great team behind you.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it's all about.
Absolutely,
right? It's all
man.
about having the team. Again, we're just a couple of fucking guys, that got this opportunity to do what we do and help people. But without the people we have back home, we can't do any of it.
Totally.
At all.
Totally. So these facilities that you deal with, is it the same facility or is it different facilities?
Yeah, so it's actually pretty cool. We have a very strategic partnership with a place called Valley Hope. So Valley Hope is actually where I went to treatment back in 2009. And that place is, you're talking about goosebumps. I get goosebumps when I talk about Valley Hope, because that place 1000% changed my life and also saved my life. I don't think, I know who I am. Like, there's certain people that I know that can go to, you know, an AA group and like just and get sober and do the program and, you know, like be okay. For me, I had to be submersed in recovery for that month, for that 30 days. I mean, it took me 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks before I even realized I was in rehab. Right. I mean, I was kind of so out of it. I wasn't listening to a word that anybody was even saying. And then I kind of woke up one day. I was sitting in a lecture and I woke up and I went, holy shit, I'm in rehab. Like, I literally said, I said the words out loud in the middle of this lecture. When I looked around, I'm like, what the fuck? And I realized I was in and everybody kind of stopped and looked at me like, you all right? And I'm like, yeah, no, I got it. Like, I know where I'm at now. And I realized that normal people don't go to rehab. Right. I was like, I've obviously got a problem that I need to like address now. And if I wouldn't have had that time in that room and in that facility to learn who I was, I wouldn't be here today. And so that's why we feel like it's so important to be able to send these people that need to go to treatment. And so that's why I said, hey, I'd really like to partner up with Valley Hope. And they have 9 different locations throughout the country. So basically, wherever we find somebody that needs help, we've got a facility that's at the max a 1-leg flight, you know, to the facility.
Right.
So we're very, very fortunate in that regard.
Yeah, that's cool. Now, earlier you were talking about donations. Is there a link that we can post in the comments if someone wants to donate?
Yeah,
now?
100%. So it's roofersinrecovery.org.
Roofersinrecovery.org. You already got it, Bake? Okay. Cool. Yeah, because we really want, and I feel bad for not participating sooner. I know Jana may have actually donated, my significant other, and like I said, I know she was super excited when we first met you guys, and of course we've been following you guys ever since. And then it was definitely an honor and a pleasure, and that's why Vic and I had met you down in Orlando, and it was just so cool.
A lot of fun.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And Jana and I were talking tonight about, you know, how cool is it to be able to go to a conference and go to an AA meeting, you know, a roofing conference and go to an AA meeting all under the same roof. I mean, that's living the dream, my friend.
That is the one thing. Hold on, I have to throw out the disclaimer.
Oops, sorry.
It was not an AA meeting.
Oh, okay.
Because we are not officially affiliated with AA, NA, or any other organization.
Good point.
We do run our meetings in a 12-step manner that is similar to an AA meeting, and we hope that when people come to our meetings that we can lead them to a formal AA or NA group.
Good point.
So that is part of our preamble, and I have to be very, very clear about that when I talk to people about our program, because we 100% believe in AA. It's part of who we are, but Roofers in Recovery itself is not officially affiliated with AA. And I have to say that just because otherwise I get mountains of shit and phone calls and people up my ass about it, which, I mean, obviously everybody knows we're trying to do the right thing and, you know, whatever, but there's certain traditions and, you know, things like that that come with AA, and we can't always follow all of them.
So, and you got something you want to say?
No, the only thing I wanted to say, Eric, is I appreciate the fact that you guys took the time to put that meeting together, because for me, just the stress alone of getting to Florida and, you know, just the normal stuff, the flight and, you know, getting settled in, you know, anywhere I go, I try to find a meeting that I can get to. And in that situation, I really don't think it would have worked if I needed to try to find a meeting outside of that convention.
Right.
So kudos to you, brother.
Right on.
It really
that
helps,
has
man.
that has been one of the most rewarding things, is the fact that, Paul and I do go to a lot of conferences for different reasons, but now today we literally go to all of these conferences just for roofers in recovery, and just so that we can have a meeting before the day starts for people that want to come to something like that, because as well as I do, how much better does your day go
Absolutely.
when you start the day with a meeting as somebody in recovery? I mean, people watching this that aren't in recovery, they don't get it. I understand that. But
Yep.
for people that are, your day just starts completely different when you get to start in a state of gratitude.
Right
Yep.
on. No,
Yep.
and I totally agree. I 100%. It was the game changer. That's what made that so much more special for me. Like that was the icing on the cake. I mean, with everything that we heard outside of our fellowship meeting, that was just like you nailed it. To start your morning off, to have that, then go into a lecture or listen to a speaker or walk around the expo center, and it just all of the nuggets that we picked up. But to circle back a little bit on what you were talking about, like, you're not affiliated with, Alcoholics Anonymous. Sometimes I worry for myself personally, letting people know, especially on live or anything like that, I am a sober member of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I'm not afraid to say that today. If you knew who I was before, why do I give a shit if I'm an alcoholic now?
Yeah.
Like, for real. Okay. But just know this. If something bad would happen to me, it's not that AA failed. I failed AA. And I just want to throw that out there. You know what I mean? Because AA doesn't fail. We fail AA. And I just wanted to throw that out there, at least for me. And I know you probably feel the same way, and I know Vic feels the same way too. And not that I'm going down a bad path or anything like that. And one of the major reasons why I wanted you on the show is to let everyone else know that might be in our industry that there is hope. That there is hope. But, and Baker touched on it earlier about the stigma of roofers. They're drunks, they're drug addicts. Yeah, we were. But today, like you said, we're giving back to the community. We're doing the next right thing. We're not.
Yep.
We're trying to practice these principles, in all of our affairs today. And whether if our teammates know it or not, so are they. Whether if they're in recovery or not. And then to circle back over to going back to the design of living today. We've had the choice to surround ourselves around the right people, and it's like Vic works for us. We're both in recovery, and there's many more of us too. We've been able to position ourselves around those people. My significant other at home, I have family members that are in recovery. Most of the people that I work with on a daily basis are in recovery. Why? Because I've been given that choice to be able to do that today.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It is amazing. You know what I mean? A knucklehead
is.
like me has been given the 10th chance to do this and be able to give back and inspire other people and give other people a good life, the life that has been so freely given to me. Tonight on the way here, one of our sales guys, his name is Bucky, and I'm sure he's not going to care about me throwing him out there, but all he kept saying, is there anything I can do for you tonight? I'm so grateful for you, man. Thank you for putting me in the place that we're in today. And it's like, dude, you did the work.
Right.
You did the work. We just opened the door, man. You kicked it open. And he's doing so great. He's a single father, has been through hell, but today, I mean, and I've watched him over the years. He's blossomed into a nice, great young man that just is passionate about life.
Yeah.
The most amazing thing to watch, I think, to what you were speaking on, is to watch somebody that is in the beginning of their sobriety, and to watch them as they're afraid to let people know that they are, right? They're afraid to let people know that they're sober, or they're trying to get sober, or whatever it is, right? They're embarrassed, or they're fearful, or whatever it is that they're having an issue with. But then to watch them grow into the person that realizes that it's not about them anymore. And the fact is, the reason that I shout it from a rooftop and that I come on to every single podcast that I'm on, and mine included, and I make sure that I talk about my sobriety and I talk about my past and I talk about my journey, is because if there's one person watching that is fucking scared and doesn't know what to do, and they go, oh shit, he did it, maybe I can reach out, or I can reach out to my friend over there that I know did it. Maybe it's not as embarrassing, or I don't have to be so fearful about it anymore. And then when you see that life change to somebody owning their life and who they are and not having shame about it anymore, that's like the most rewarding thing on the planet. And then when you realize that you woke up one day and you're that guy that is able to share that, and you're not ashamed of who you used to be, and that you realize that everything that you went through was so that you can be this person today.
Right on.
That is the reason that we went through all of that shit. Because if that's not the reason, then fuck me, that sucked. But right, like that was garbage if that wasn't the reason. But I 1,000% believe that the reason that I went through all of that shit and I made all of those, poor choices, and I laid all that wreckage in my past, was so that I could be here today, being able to share with you guys and your audience, that there is another way, that there is a way out. You don't have to be unhappy. You don't have to hate yourself. You don't have to be depressed all the fucking time. Like, there is a solution. There is a way out. You can be successful, and all of the things that come with that.
Right on.
Promises do come true, right? And I just love fucking seeing that. So anyway, I get passionate and I ramble when we start talking about that. But I get really, I love that shit.
I feel it. That's why, I was saying to you earlier tonight when we were texting that I said that you're a cool motherfucker, and I meant that. You are. Well, I've listened to you for, and we watch you, we follow you, and it was great to meet you down in Orlando. You're the space I want to be in. I want you in my space. Yep. You know what I mean? You're that guy that we were talking about earlier, and water seeks its own level. And I like I said, I was so excited about this episode. I knew it was going to be a good one, and hopefully we can stay in touch.
100%.
Are you guys? So you're doing all of the conferences? You're doing?
No, so we're not doing them all. We had to make some hard choices, and I won't go into the decision-making process of that. But we decided that we wanted to strategically align our brand and what we're trying to do for the industry and for the community with like-minded organizations that have the same principles and the same morals and kind of the same ethics that we do. And so we've decided to pull out of some events and attend others. But we are going to be at we're going to be at the SRC Summit that April Hall puts on in Dallas. We'll be at that. April's been a big supporter of Roofers in Recovery. I personally will be at D2D Con that Sam Taggart puts on in Salt Lake. For those of you that don't know Sam has completely changed my life. I met him when he was this goofy little fucking hippie kid with long hair. And I mean, he wasn't a hippie, but like, he just looked like one, right? He looked like a skateboarder or whatever, but he wasn't. He was this amazing D2D guru, right? And he called me one day after we met at a conference, and he was like, dude, you need to be part of this circle that I'm putting together. And I was like, I don't know what the fuck that means. And he's like, you need to be part of this circle, and you need to come to Mexico with us. And I'm like, when are you going to Mexico? And he goes, next week. And I'm like, what do you mean next week? And he's like, yeah, we're going next week. He goes, you need to sign up and you need to come because you'd be perfect for this. I'm like, and I remember I was sitting in my office in my house, and my wife was sitting on the couch, and I was like, honey, this crazy guy wants me to go to fucking Mexico next week. And she's like, well, if you want to go, fucking go. I'm like, all right. Cool. So I'm like, Sam, all right, I'm in. And so I went to Mexico with Sam and like 10 or 12 other guys. And we did some exercises that completely changed my life. I sat on a river in Puerto Vallarta for 12 hours from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and I couldn't talk. I had no food. I had 2 gallons of water, and a notebook. And all I could do was sit there and journal all day long. And I journaled for 12 hours, and you'd fall asleep. Like, I mean, it was a really weird experience.
I bet.
And I wrote down all of these things that I wanted to do with my life, with my work, with my whatever, right? Everything. And I literally still have that notebook from like almost 3 years ago. And I've done everything that was in that notebook.
Awesome.
And which is amazing. And I had some weird shit on there that like I had no idea how to accomplish, right? And I put it in that notebook, and so that guy changed my life. We're still friends. We play golf together. I go to all his stuff.
Cool.
He comes to my stuff, and so he's actually coming to Mexico on my team trip in January. I'm taking my entire team down to Cozumel for a week. And Sam's actually going to fly in and like train the team for a couple of days and just hang out with me and go scuba diving. And so I'm going to, so all of that was said because I'm going to Sam's conference in January as well. That's D2D Con. I'll be there. I'm speaking, and we're not going to have a booth there for Roofers in Recovery, but I'm going to be spreading the message for Roofers in Recovery at that as well. I know Paul and Kim are going to Randy Brothers' event. It's a mastermind event. I'm not going to that, so I don't know the details on that one. And then what else is coming up? I think that's it. I think that's everything that we're going to, and then we're going to do we're doing all of our own stuff after that. So those are the ones that really support us and believe in what we're doing and believe in our mission.
Awesome. So,
and obviously RoofCon was a huge deal, right? I mean,
that's what I was going to bring up.
Me and Hunter and I are pretty good friends. And you know, the support that Hunter gave us at RoofCon was, you know, you guys see it from the front, right? When you're sitting out in the audience and whatever, and it seems like a big deal, but you don't realize until you're trying to get exposure like that to do something good. When somebody really steps up and puts you on a main stage and asks an audience of thousands of people to help and to donate and throws a QR code up right on a screen and says, these are the people you need to help because they're changing lives. Like, that's the most amazing thing in the world for somebody like me to be a part of. So like, I can't say enough good things about Hunter and RoofCon. And if you haven't been to RoofCon, you're an idiot. So like, I mean, if you're in this fucking industry and you're not going to RoofCon, you got to go to fucking RoofCon.
Right on.
So they're planning another one right now.
I agree. Yeah. That one we'll definitely be able to get to, but I think there's one in December, which is Dimitri's, and I think there's two in February that next year, I guess already. We're not going to be able to make it, but definitely RoofCon we're not going to miss because that's a little further out. So we're definitely going to be able to make it to that, and we're not going to be able to make it to. I don't know what we're going to be able to do, but we're focusing on the home shows here in the next couple of weeks, few months, and stuff like that. But man, this was a great show.
Thank you, guys.
We definitely need to set up another time. I'd like to get more of the team. We'll get a big round table here. We'll zoom you in, and we can all just shoot the shit. Maybe bring Andy Reid with you. I'm just kidding. I know his name's Paul.
I know he's fucking watching too because I texted him away.
That's great. That's great.
I'm gonna get a picture of him and superimpose big fat Andy Reid's head on him. So
good stuff,
Eric.
man.
There's one thing I want to share with you real quick.
Yes, sir.
You with the authenticity thing, man. It really struck me because through my addiction, man, I could always put a mask on. I could always fit in where I needed to fit in. I could be the most fake person to get what I needed at the time because I'm a selfish jackass, you know. To me, it hits home. It's hard to this day sometimes to be authentic because of the fear factor, and I'm sure you understand what I mean by that.
100%.
And I think it's important to put that out there, man, because I know a lot of people in recovery that still feel that shame, like they don't want to talk about it. And you are giving people hope, man, that it's important to get it out, you know, to let people know. I'm not afraid to share my story with anybody. I don't care where it is, what time of the day it is. It doesn't matter to me.
Because it might help one person.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. So I just
It
want
might
to thank
help
you for
more.
that, man, because that's huge for me on a personal level, and honestly, that's kind of run rampant. You know, like Ty hit on, man. There's a bunch of people in recovery at work, man. Sometimes I feel like I'm at a meeting all day. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like there's people there I can go to, man. If I'm struggling, that's the most beautiful thing about our culture. There's somebody there. They're a door knock away or an
Yep.
office away.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. And I'll tell you, to be transparent, you know, I talked about it in maybe the last podcast or maybe the one with Reggie. I think it was the one with Reggie that dropped today. That I struggled when I first started this podcast to understand what I was talking about being authentic, and I had to convince myself that it was okay for me to actually be me in the podcast, because I knew that I was going to have clients and potential clients watching the show, possibly, right? I mean, it's out there for the world, you know, to watch.
Unfortunately, yes.
And I had to make a decision, and the decision I made was, I want to attract the people that are attracted to me, and I don't want to work with people that are easily offended, and I don't want to work with people that don't understand my journey or think that it's bullshit, right? Like I don't want to work with those people. And when I owned that, it was so freeing, because then I knew I could go on, throw that mic up, and if Lexi, my videographer, said, "Hey, do you want me to cut anything?" Be like, "You don't cut shit. Everything I fucking said goes out there, and if people don't like it, as far as I'm concerned, they can eat a dick. I don't care, because this is who I am.
Right
That's
on.
right.
And
That's
I
right.
own my shit, and there's certain people like me, there's certain people that don't, and guess what? That is all right.
Right on,
I'm
man.
cool with that.
Yep.
Right
So,
on.
Thank you guys.
Yes.
Thank you guys for having me on and letting me tell my story a little bit and get to talk about roofers in recovery.
Yes.
And let me pimp my podcast on your podcast. So
Hey,
thank you very
hey,
much for that.
we will watch each other's.
100%.
Most definitely.
100%.
Most definitely. Good deal. So Bake's coming back in here.
Yeah.
We'll wrap
Okay.
this up.
Yeah, I want to ask you something real quick, Eric. I don't even need
Yes.
to hear real quick. So Hunter put that QR code up for you. Is there a way that you can get a QR code to one of us?
Yeah.
You know, that we can run through the holidays, and maybe after the holidays we can put it down in the corner of our show.
Yes.
For the next couple episodes, or
Perfect.
you know, give
Yes.
you 10 or 20 episodes or something like that.
Hell
Give me a
yes.
QR code
100%.
that goes to your website for donations, and we'll put it on our
Yes.
on our
So
site.
do me a favor and text me the best email address, and I'll have Chelsea.
I'm bopping out of here. You guys
Right on.
Send that over. Okay.
Yes, definitely. I'll send it over to you as soon as we're done.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you guys.
That's
That's
great, brother.
awesome of you.
Yeah, man. Hey, if you ever need anything, man, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm always here.
Thank you.
You too.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You too, man. You
Yep.
too.
All right, brother. Have a good night.
You too, pal. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.